Okay. Hi, this is Kathy from Kathy's Creations and Specialties, and I'm here to share with you. This is a multimedia canvas, and it's a 12 by 12, and I first prepped this canvas by using a Bow Bunny white gesso. And I will show you exactly now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep it by using some other products, and it's the Bow Bunny crackle paste and primer. So I'm first going to start with the primer, and then I will add the crackle paste. Okay, I'm adding the primer to a section of the canvas, and then as that gets a little translucent, so I'll let it get a little tacky, and then what I'm going to do is add the paste over that. I clean off the spatula and return the lid to the primer before I add the paste to the project. Okay, I'm going to spread the paste onto the board just like I did the primer. Okay, I added the paste. I have a shadow this way. I added the paste just over exactly where the primer was, and now I will just go ahead and I'll let that dry before I start adding the color to it and everything. Using these stretchable stencils, I actually stenciled onto the canvas with this latex glossy super heavy gel medium, and this is what it you can see it, that's what it created. There are the birds up there, and then what I did was I took a quick quote chalking powder puff chalk ink. This is what I used, and I went over the cracked medium, and there we go. You can kind of see how it fills in the gaps, but it also shows here on the decorations from the stenciling and the birds. It did not stick to the birds, but around it, so you can see that it did color it. So that's what I did for so far of the canvas. After applying the crackle primer and paste, I let it dry and then I inked it. I did use some glimmer spray, the 2-2 glimmer spray, onto the canvas before adding the powder puff chalk ink. And so then I will start layering the different elements onto the canvas. So now what I'm doing is I'm cutting out several of the flowers and the mason jar. And so I just put the die into the Big Shot and crank it away. And this is going to be my mason jar right here. I'm doing to accomplish the cutout, I'm going to cut out the center of the mason jar so I can put a saying in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hole in the center of the, and it doesn't matter how, you know, I'm just going to put a, oops, wrong one. So I'll put a hole, and what the hole is for is so I can get the scissors in there. You really don't need to put the hole, but I'm actually going to make an X. Like that, and then like that. And then to get the desired look that I really want out of the paper, I used a very small dowel, and I curled it up like that, and I did that on, sometimes to help this I will spritz the paper with water, and so it kind of helps it so the paper doesn't tear. And so once you get your cutout and your window made in the middle of the mason jar, that's kind of what the window will look like, and you can actually distress the edges of the window. Now this is what I created with the mason jar. I did put a chipboard behind it that says life is a song, love is the music, is the saying in the middle of it. But I distressed the edges of the window. I put on the rest of the mason jar decorations, and then distressed around the entire mason jar. So that's how I made the I made the mason jar, and then I'm going to make a flower, and then actually I've made several flowers from the paper line. So same type of thing, you're going to just use your Big Shot and cut out the flowers. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my various different colors all at one time, so that it just saves me a step later. Because it actually will go through several sheets of paper. So I'll run that through, and by doing several layers, I also will get a couple of flowers from it. Okay, and then I unveil, and there's one of the flowers, parts of the flower. My workspace is very limited right now. I'm in the midst of moving, and So I'm just using whatever space I can find to play with. And now I think when you're making flowers, it's kind of like whatever, you can shape them any way kind of that you feel would be really a nice shape. So I'm going to put all these parts and move the big shot. So in one of the flowers I used is, I really like this particular flower. It really makes a really nice pretty rose. And I also use my wooden dowel again, and I just start just kind of winding it around the, and this one you could use, I'll use the bigger dowel for this one. This is my bigger dowel. Now I'll use the smaller one on the edges of the flower because I do want to get them to kind of fold over, you know, to kind of shape the flower with. And so once you get it all, and then it kind of looks like that. Oops, I really have the sun coming in at the wrong time. So that's, but what I use the small dowel for is I will then take the flower edges and I will turn them over just like that. So I will do that all the way down the flower. And then it will roll back up. Yeah, these are a lot of fun to create, and then what I do is I hot glue them to, especially this one I hot glue, and so even though I've rolled it up, it'll go back together pretty. But once you get all these little edges turned over, okay. All right. And then I just kind of wind it back up after I've turned over all the edges, and as I wind it back up, it helped to do it with the dowel first because it really actually goes together much easier and more willingly, I should say. It's so much fun to create. So I just kind of play with it, and then I will get the hot glue ready, and we will put this flower together. And this is what the flower, you'll get to see it, but this is the very same flower, but I will show you that in just a sec. Get the hot glue going. And as I'm waiting for the hot glue for this, this is where I will start playing with these flowers and decide how I would like to put this together. And I can make a couple of these, so which is going to be really kind of fun. That's kind of what I did the first time around, so let's kind of switch it. Silly old me. Anyway, yeah, that will go together, and you could add an extra one if you wanted. These were just a little bit extra from my... so then I will play with them. And, okay. What I usually do is I dab quite a bit of hot glue right there, and then just play with it. Don't have a lot of time to play with it once you put that hot glue in there, but it is one of the easiest ways to keep the flower going and kind of and just stick it down into that hot glue. And that's when I just kind of manipulate the paper then after it has been glued down. Then I just do more of the rolling of the petals. So it looks more like a rose. Okay, it didn't work quite fast enough. Yeah, making flowers can be very time-consuming part of the project to really get them if you want them detailed, but it's very, I think, adds so much to the project when you can use paper from the paper line as well to just enhance the colors of the project. And I just kind of manipulate it and play with it until I get it the way I like it, you know, which that's what, you know, it should be done by each person. So anyway, that's my rose that I just created. It's like, okay, there we go. And this is the other one that I made. So yeah, and this way they're all just a little bit different. No two are alike at all. So once I get my flowers, I do the very same thing. I'll just kind of shape them with a dowel. That way it gives the flowers a little bit more depth. And depending on which way you actually burnish the flower is which way the petals will kind of... And then after that I just layer them, hopefully kind of alternating so you can see the and then I add in the center of each one of those, I will add a brad or a something very similar to a brad to that. So I'll put a fancy brad in the center, and that will be one of the flowers. And in this case, I have an ivory brad. I believe these are from Michael's, these little brads. And I stick on the back because the hole is so big. I'll use this from the brad paper, and I will stick it back behind so that the brad does not fall through, I should say. And that's just another flower. And so I utilize on the big hold ones, I really do utilize the stuff from the brad holder to accomplish that. And this is green. And this is kind of the same thing, except I use the opposite colors. And now I didn't curl that for a purpose, because I want to show you that you can do it while it's not as easy, but you can do it while you have it on already pre-made. I prefer to curl them, if I can, before I put the project together, because I think it's just easier. And what this does is just give the flower a little more depth. That's all I'm doing. So kind of having a little more depth on your picture in flowers is a nice bonus. So that's how we did the flowers, and then I will just start creating and putting. I outlined the photo for this layout with using paper. I figured out the size of the paper I needed, and then I used a distress tool. Either I did one of two things. I either ripped the paper like this to give it that look, or I used this distress tool and I would just distress it. And I did that around the photo as well as the paper. And so I will layer the paper and the photos together using that same technique. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start layering the different, I did layer my photo on the distressed paper, and what you could also do is take some, I'm using Powder Puff Chalk Ink by Quick Quotes to, you can go around different parts of the photo with distress ink. And I'm kind of place my photo where I kind of think I like it. And I'm just going to be playing with it as I kind of see what I do or don't kind of like it. Now this is a chipboard piece from the paper collection. I also have the mason jar that I created, but I'm also using another one of the mason jars from the collection. This is a layered chipboard. It says full of love, and then I'll kind of put that right up there. So I just kind of play with it. Make sure it's all kind of where I wanted it. And then I will start layering the flowers and the butterflies to fill in around the butterfly. I mean the photos and the mason jars. Okay, this is I think it's all fun to create with, but this is, I think, once you're starting to put the final placement of some of the things, you know, it gets really exciting. Oops, I didn't want to do that. And actually, on this one, I actually cut into all the papers, distressed it, and then curled it out. It's just a cute little technique. And I think it's fun to create with whatever we can create with, and add all different kind of techniques and to our projects. I think it's an added bonus. Okay. Alright. And here's some of the other flowers that I have created. So now I'll just kind of play with, I do want to use some of the tutu glitter paste, and I'm going to do that on the leaves. I'm just kind of giving it added sparkle to the leaves itself. So this is what I'm doing. Just a little glitter, and we'll let that dry as I'm kind of putting these together. And I'm going to do that to a couple of the flowers as well. All right. So I'll get my things closer by that I'm going to fill with. All the flowers, the butterflies, and from the paper collection I did cut out butterflies with some Sizzix dies, Spellbinders dies. really pretty paper line. I think this is one of my favorites of the Bo Bunny. But they have actually quite a few paper lines that I really, really like. So it's really hard to choose. But this one's on the top of my list. And you know, it just kind of sometimes, you know, I get thinking, you know, concentrating on the project, and I forget to talk in the videos, but it's not because I'm just concentrating. So I'm just going to play around with, these are some interesting, I got these from a friend that she had, somebody gave to her from a swap, and found them to be just really pretty because you can actually put it down, and you can put a flower in it, just like that. Here's our sun-drenched . And that is what I'm just going to continue doing, is putting this together. This is the final product after creating and making a couple of changes, but I'll go ahead and zoom in all the areas and explain what I've done. So on the upper left here, I have created next to the layered chipboard full of love, I've added a three-dimensional butterfly, and the bottom one is blue and the top one is green, both cut out from the patterned paper. The body of the butterfly is flat back pearls, and then I use stamens for their antennas. And next to that is a rose. And then going down the left-hand side, this is I cut out another paper butterfly. These were from Spellbinders or Stampin' Up! Dies. And then these are some of the flowers made from the paper line. And I added a flatback pearl to the center of this one as well. And this I added the glitter paste to this flower, and on the leaves I added the glitter to the leaves, and then I also used the leaf powder puff, green leaf powder puff ink over on the leaves. And then I added, over here you can see it's a peach spray. I absolutely thought it was gorgeous. Down under all that is a chipboard swirl flourish made from the chipboard. And the photo is layered with 3 different papers from the paper line with a belly band. This is cut from the paper, one of the strips, and then we have this butterfly, also cut from the paper line. The body of the butterfly is I used pearl scent coral on it. I cut out the mason jar. I distressed the around the sides with barn door from Powder Puff Inks. And then moving up, I have more flowers made from the paper line. Added flatback pearls to them. I actually made the flowers look raised either by rolling them up or under, depending. And then here's another one of those round sprays. I have 3 roses, as well as another one from the paper line. And then back behind you can see the crackle that appeared from the canvas, and I actually used the Powder Puff ink to make it a soft green. And over here you can see back behind, you can see the shininess of the birds from the stickable stencils. And also from over here you can also see the stickable stencils as well. And you can kind of see that in various different places on the canvas, and it just created just a layered type look. Anyway, I do hope you enjoy my project and hope that you will try a multimedia canvas using different products. They're a lot of fun, and there's really no mistakes when you're creating, because some things can be covered up or altered, or they just turn out just a little differently than we first planned. But that's what crafting's about, is just jumping in there and having fun. Again, thanks for watching, and thanks for joining me today, and have a great day. Bye.